So for us, we have individual homes and air rights registered close to where the drone delivery is happening. For us, I'm looking for probably about 1,000 to 1,500 in one particular town. So rather than spreading ourselves too thin, we focused on a couple of towns initially to see where we could get the most traction. There's 2 towns we've kind of boiled it down to that we're going to be focusing on next. And then that's a kind of boots on the ground type of strategy, even more so than is currently there, to try and onboard those. Because if you can imagine it, when we look at a drone delivery area, so let's say Walmart are doing drone delivery, our ideal is to surround that Walmart, those air rights to be claimed and on board, and therefore Walmart hit those air rights parcels every time and get fees to these air rights owners.
Today, my guest is Jonathan Dockrell. He's the co-founder and CEO of SkyTrade. Jonathan, it's lovely to have you here today. Please introduce yourself and tell us about the company and what you guys do.
Sure. Well, great to be here. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm Jonathan. So as you said, co-founder, CEO of SkyTrade. I guess to give a quick intro into what SkyTrade is, and so we're an air rights marketplace. So when we're talking about air rights, we're talking about the space above land and buildings. Up to a certain height is owned by the landowner or the property owner, if you like. So in the case of the US, up to 500 feet owned by the landowner or the property owner. And there's a bunch of use cases for that. And we kind of focus primarily on 3 at the moment. There are other ones coming down the track, but the 3 we focus on are commercial drones. If you think about it, in order for drones to be in this airspace, which is private, they need permission. So if they're flying in the airspace without permission, they're trespassing. So we help give them legal certainty. Homeowners or real estate companies can claim their air rights with us. We effectively aggregate those air rights, and then drone companies can fly through them, pay a small fee, and we distribute that down to the air rights owners. So that's kind of one use case. Second one is more in real estate. So in real estate, the air above buildings can be very valuable. So if you want to build another 10 stories on top of your building, that can be valuable. You may not want to do that though. So you may not have the money or the inclination or the motivation to do it. So you can sell those air rights to somebody and they can come in and build. And so they could build above your building. Or you could sell it to your neighbor, and your neighbor can cantilever across above your building and kind of build more floor space and use it for their own needs and get whatever profit they need. A lot of locations you can actually transfer those air rights. So let's say, for example, you have a building in Manhattan. So congratulations, you have a building in Manhattan. Let's say it's 5 stories and you have these air rights above it, but you don't want to build for whatever reason you don't want to do. I have a building maybe, a couple of blocks down, and I want to build higher, but I can't build any higher because I've maxed out. I'm already a skyscraper. I've maxed out my zoning and my planning permissions. So I buy yours, I can transfer it down to mine and build higher again. So it's kind of a utility. So basically it's using the space that we have within the air in order to get densification. So you can do that as well. So that's the second kind of case. And you can also actually use the air rights to protect views. So let's say, for example, you have a view of Central Park, or you have a view of a lake, or whatever it is, you can buy the air rights down to that kind of piece of natural beauty, whatever you want, and you pay the air rights owners in between, so you protect that view. A lot of places actually in Australia have done that. So they bought all the air rights, prevented people building higher, and it adds actually to the value of their property because nothing can be built in front of it. And then the third use case is predominantly in telecoms. So if you look at over like a cityscape here, or even if you just look up, you'll see telecom antennas or towers on the top of roofs. And these are for cell networks, so AT&T, whoever it may be. They basically rent space on those towers, and they pay a rent for them. So they're sitting on top of these rooftops in an air rights parcel, and they're leases, so they're assets. And what we do as well is we then help people, particularly kind of telecom developers, buy those out, and then we help them sell them on effectively to a wider market. So yeah, that's kind of what we do. It's an air rights marketplace. It's kind of to a degree niche. That's what we do.
It's amazing. For me, this was a novel idea. I had never heard of this before until I spoke with you initially. And I imagine for a lot of other people, it's probably the same. So how are you going about educating the market and letting people know, especially homeowners, that this is something that they could monetize?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it's one that, you've hit the nail on the head. So it is, not everybody knows about their air rights, for sure. So it's kind of interesting. When we talk to, let's say, real estate developers or people who are in real estate in, let's say, New York, And you mention air rights, and they just go, boom, yep, we understand, they're valuable, we know how they work. The way it's currently working is very opaque. It's hard to get into. If there was a digital version that you guys are doing, great, we'd love to be involved. You talk to homeowners and they're like, really? I own this? I do. I have no idea. So yeah, there is definitely a disconnect between like, I suppose the B2B side and then the B2C side. And the way we're kind of educating, or the way we kind of, I suppose, started off educating was through Substack. So I started writing a Substack called Where's My Flying Car a couple of years ago now, and just started writing about kind of air rights, drone access, anything kind of to do with that, the kind of intersection of it all, property, real estate, some of the politics behind it insofar as that countries like the US have this ability to be able to use their air rights, and the UK as well. Certain countries don't. It's kind of this area of like the right to own your property effectively. So it's kind of interesting as well. So the intersection of that. So that kind of got us in front of some people who didn't really know about their air rights. They started learning a bit more and kind of contacting me back, kind of maybe, small to medium sized real estate people who were saying we should get this into other areas. And then for the kind of smaller, if you like, homeowners, the way we've been doing it, are trying to do it, at least trying to educate. So yeah, we do blogs. We try and go on podcasts and talk to people. We try and do other kind of areas to try and get it kind of directly into people's eyeballs and ears. And what we've been doing with these kind of areas where there's drone delivery, particularly around Texas, is we've actually been kind of encouraging homeowners who understand what we're doing to refer their friends in. So neighbors, friends, they refer in, they get some rewards for that, and kind of try and build a kind of, if you like, a community network around what we're doing. And one of the things we did for that as well is we then developed an app that intercepts the drone signals so that a homeowner who kind of, okay, I'm interested, how can I monetize my air rights? We're like, well, we have an app so you can also intercept the drone signal. That gives the metadata and the GPS coordinates, ownership detail. And then over time, we're going to be able to charge those commercial drone entities. So it kind of gets people involved in the space, understand what it is. We also built a calculator that actually values the air rights above your property. It's not like, pinpoint accurate. It can never be, because until you actually sell them or trade them, you don't really know the full price. But we take sales prices around the area, air rights that have sold, and make a calculation on it. And we use live feeds from a bunch of places. And so people can kind of get into it that way as well. So that's predominantly how we've been doing it. And then we're currently working on an ambassador program in these kind of small towns. We're launching, I hope, soon enough. But yeah, that'll kind of bring more people, we think, into the ecosystem.
When you're looking at your ambassador program and you're determining where you want to go, what's the process that you go in selecting a certain area or geography to focus on, and then where to go next?
Sure. Yeah. So in terms of the geography where to focus on, there's kind of two splits. We have B2B side. So we look at high density locations like New York, basically work with real estate developers to onboard them. And then on the B2C side, it's more around where there's drone delivery. So drone delivery is in places like Dallas, Fort Worth, number of different areas. Walmart are doing drone delivery. So for us, it's quite easy to find these areas where there's drone delivery. If there's drone delivery to us, that means they should be paying the homeowners to fly through their airspace. And then for us, it's also a slightly easier conversation to have to say, hey, drones fly, they deliver packages, they should be paying you money. If there's no drones in the air, people look at you like, what are you talking about? Drones aren't going to be here for like 50 years. But when you go down to these areas like Dallas, Fort Worth, they go, oh yeah, I can see the drones. I understand what you're talking about now. And I can earn money out of that. You're like, yep, absolutely. So that's kind of the way we're deciding on how to do it. Also, we recently just did a partnership with a company who do infrastructure for drones. So we're working with them as well. So they go in and they help the cities build the drone infrastructure, like where the drone ports should go, all these kind of things. And we come in with the technology layer in order to be able to kind of make the payments happen and to control those air rights for the people as well. So that's also an indicator, because they're working with towns and cities who are kind of asking them to come in. So for us, it's kind of a natural way to then go into a city or a town that kind of want this type of industry and infrastructure.
Very interesting. Very interesting. When we were preparing for this podcast, you mentioned and earlier that there was a lot of traction that came through Substack initially. Are you still getting a lot of engagement through Substack?
Yeah. Substack was really great. I mean, I suppose kind of maybe to roll back kind of why I even started doing that. So, I mean, I I research heavily on what we do. I just really enjoy, like, I kind of, got a bug for it, and researched a lot of it, and also couldn't find everything that I needed to find. So I had to research. And I thought, well, if I'm interested in this, maybe somebody else is interested in this. I'll get it out there. And also it helps with my kind of thinking process to write, because you kind of have to edit. And then you kind of have to go again. So you kind of have to think through what you're actually talking about. It helps me do that. So yeah, we started out that way and just throwing it out, and then yeah, we got a lot of uptake. I think we've got about 18,000 subscribers now, which is pretty good, for kind of a niche type of thing. Yeah, still getting read and opened as much as it ever did. In terms of growth, no, it's not growing as fast as it did initially, but to be expected, I guess. It's still moving and still growing and still kind of getting referred in from people, which is great to see. And yeah, we get engagement. So from it, many people have reached out directly to me, kind of, my email's there and people can kind of contact me if they want. I'm not kind of hidden or anything, and they can do that. And I also kind of look for people who've written papers on air rights or drones to kind of, yeah, give me anything they have. If they want me to write about it, if they want to guest write about it, they can do that as well. Or I guest write sometimes on other people's posts. So yeah, it's been a great channel to do it, and one that it didn't come about as a kind of, like, we didn't say, okay, we want some acquisition, let's write a Substack. It didn't come about like that. It was like, okay, I want to write about this stuff. I need to find out about it. I'm researching it. Let's get it out there. And I think I may be wrong, but I think my view is because I'm writing it with that in mind, people are more attracted to it because it's not like a very set way. Okay, this is acquisition. Come to me. I think if I did that, the voice in it wouldn't be authentic or as authentic. It would probably veer to a different type of way of speaking to people. I think that's my view anyway.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. Because there's something about when someone reads your content and they start to consume it regularly, there starts to be this relationship, maybe not necessarily from your side because you're publishing the content, you don't always know who's reading it, but they start to learn more and they start to build, to your point, this view of authenticity with what you're saying. And it's a different approach. And you should definitely continue doing it, even if you're not getting as much traction now. I'm sure there's going to be something that happens where things will
Yeah.
come back.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it'll grow more. I mean, one of the interesting things with Substack is you do see who's reading it. So you see who the emails are. And it's like, it's incredibly surprising to me. I mean, we've got like the top tier VCs in there reading. We've got the top real estate guys reading. I'm like, wow, okay, this is really interesting. You guys really are interested in this. So like that kind of encourages me to keep kind of writing it, because if that's being consumed by people who you would have a lot of respect for in various industries, it's like, okay, this is hitting. This is good.
And I wasn't familiar with that side of Substack, so I didn't realize there were the analytics piece there. So that's
Yeah, they're pretty
even more
good. Yeah,
interesting.
I like Substack.
If you were to launch some sort of acquisition campaign for B2B and then B2C, what tactics, what channels do you think you would look at, and how would you treat the channels differently or the same, or kind of what would your thought process be there?
Yeah, definitely treat them differently for sure. So I suppose on the B2B side, so far most of that has come from approaches directly from real estate people towards us, which is great, right? So they've approached us, they've seen what we're doing, they're interested. The way they work with their rights at the moment, as I said, is very opaque, a lot of paperwork, very expensive, and we're kind of digitizing it effectively. So they're interested in that because it can save them money and make them money. So a campaign around that, the way we've looked at it is to be relatively, and we haven't kind of set this in huge motion. We've done like some kind of tactical marketing tests to see what the feedback is. It seems to be relatively direct and mainly from me, right? So I've been reaching out either through LinkedIn or directly trying to get emails for people or referrals. A lot of it has been referrals from people in real estate. And then they've been willing to take my call. Also, I think because what we're doing is quite unique, people like, they look at it twice. And so we're not just another whatever. It's like, okay, this is kind of interesting. What you're doing, I'd like to find out a bit more about. So that's kind of worked initially. So on our kind of larger campaign, if you like, of B2B, I'm going to continue doing that. Now, I know I'm startups, we don't have like a professional BD on the team. Quite frankly, until I have so much work that I need one, I won't have one, because I think the best sales come from the founders. And that's what we found. So in the B2B, I'm going to continue that right now. And I don't want to kind of get distracted by building sales teams and all that kind of stuff. We've tried some outreach with some salespeople, and it just doesn't land quite the same way. It just doesn't on that B2B side. And I think that personal touch matters. On the B2C side, so yeah, we've talked to some really interesting people in the areas where we're looking to do kind of onboard homeowners who are interested in what we're doing. And the way we've done it is we've approached people who are interested in what we're doing themselves. So they've either approached us or we put out ads for people who are interested in kind of helping us develop the marketplace. Basically, maybe they come on board as a, on a, small time basis, part time basis, see what they can do. We give them additional rewards to come on, and then see how they work out. And that so far has worked really well because we seem to be getting people who really like what we're doing. We're kind of bringing them into the team, and then they're going out into their community and talking to their community. So very kind of on the ground, people who already have a network. Some people who are in real estate actually have been really useful and helpful in these kind of smaller towns because they know everyone. We had a couple of real estate agents who are kind of like they have their own business and they're like, hey, yeah, this could be an extra thing for me to do. I can go back to my previous clients and I can bring them on board. So that's what's kind of been working so far. And I think more of that is what we're probably going to do in these specifically small towns. To us, so my background, and I didn't mention, but one of my background was in marketplaces. One of them was like it's called Free Now. It's like a version of Uber, European Uber. And when we launched that into the London market, it was like the Uber model. So it very decentralized. Small towns, small pockets, boroughs, small teams who run their own teams and know what's going on in that area. They even know like down to the driver. So the way I'm kind of modeling this is, okay, you might even know the homeowner. You might know the local real estate broker. You might know, and that way, and if you build it really locally, this kind of decentralized knowledge, that's what I've seen work before. And I think that's what's going to work for us this time.
Interesting. When you're looking at small towns, like how are you describing a small town? Like what's the population? What's the size?
Oh yeah, 20, 30, 40,000 people. Yeah, so not huge. Some of the more metropolitan areas, let's say Dallas Fort Worth is bigger. It's more spread out. But when we look at the drone delivery, most of them are happening in these small pockets. And the way the drone delivery has started to happen, it won't ultimately end up this way, but the way the drones have started to work is from a central point and out. Now, soon there'll be multiple points and they'll be kind of crossing over. But that means it's really good for us because we know the radius and we know who to get in that radius as well. So it's very easy for us to see. So yeah, that's kind of the size of it. So I mean, for us, there's no size too big or too small, really. The smaller is actually easier for us to get a handle on, though, and for an individual or a couple of individuals to kind of, I suppose, not, yeah, to kind of make an impact.
Yeah. Have you ever considered leveraging online data to see like level of interest, people that are already engaging with drone related content, maybe not your Substack, but maybe something similar, like starting to explore that and then converting that online data into offline to maybe have someone boots on the ground that's like knocking on doors or sending direct mail?
Yeah, definitely. Well, direct mail is definitely something we've been looking at, and we're going to run some tests on that for sure. And yes, the what we've been looking at is sales data of properties, kind of frequency that they're trading. Also, we've pulled a bunch of data from like real estate things for like salary, home ownership, like heavy home ownership is what we're looking for. So areas that have more home ownership like comparatively than rental because homeowners are the ones who can ultimately make the decision on their air rights. So yes, we've been pulling that data as well. We've been pulling APIs. We built APIs with a couple of companies that pull live sales data from different places. So that gives us an indication on what's selling and the prices that they're selling. And if they're selling, then we can contact those individual homeowners. Now, the motion to contacting those homeowners, as you said, is then the people on the ground. So that's kind of the next step for that is kind of, but we feed that information into the people we work with in these kind of smaller towns as well to see if they can convert it. Slick the funnel is just yet. Probably not as slick as it should be, but it's working. And there's more data that we should be able to pull. But I mean, I think for me, at the stage we're at, it's really important to get into these kind of pockets where people can make an impact, can put their air rights on, and can start to make some sort of money out of it. Once we start to do that, then in my view, then we have our kind of evangelists, or we should. If they're making something out of their air rights, it's much easier to sell that, right? Say, look what I have, and then they can onboard people as well.
Yeah. And if someone's listening to this, they might think, well, I have a house and I'm interested in maybe selling my air rights. I should look into it. Are there any restrictions or do you have like an ideal client profile or is it just kind of open to anyone?
Yeah, so yeah, first of all, yes, it's open to anyone. Anyone who has a property or land, they can come, they can go to Sky.trade, they can claim their air rights, and we validate their property. Assuming it is their property, we can check records and make sure that it's them and their property and all that's kind of done. So there, again, we kind of come back down to the B2B and the B2C. So yes, there's an ideal profile for somebody in B2C. That's somebody who's in an area where there is drone delivery, preferably near where the actual drones are taking off and landing. That's much easier for us because they're going to get hit more, they're going to get more money for it. So that's the ideal person. So it's a homeowner in those areas. Perfect. For the B2B side, it's real estate companies, effectively real estate companies who can make decisions. So what I mean by that is we've talked to very large real estate companies, loads and loads of property, keen, but to get to actually the point of decision, can be a few layers. Where we found kind of small to medium sized ones, you can actually get hold of like the founder or the CEO. You can talk directly to them and they can make a decision. And that's what we found in terms of kind of ideal customer profile. It's a company that has, I mean, in terms of the amount of property they have, we don't have a kind of an exact figure, but I've generally found people with, when we say a parcel, this could be like a condo is one parcel, but below 50 and above 20 are pretty receptive and I can contact. I'm not saying they all come back to me, but generally are responsive, because most people, what we found in real estate, and this is no kind of, this is nothing that nobody wouldn't already think, they really want yield, right? They want a return. They're investing in real estate. They need yield. They want yield. And if we can give them a way to do that, whether it's through drones, telecoms, or just plain out putting an option on their air rights, they're open to that and attracted to it. So yeah, that's what we found. The bigger real estate guys, as I said, we've talked to, but yeah, I mean, it's harder for them to make decisions. It's just plain and simple.
Yeah, more decision makers, more red tape, all of the fun stuff of
Yeah.
a larger organization.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The bureaucracy slows them down.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're looking at go to market and you're looking at your two streams, B2B and B2C, where would you like to see both over the next 6 to 12 months?
That's an interesting question. On the B2B side, we've done reasonably well, I think, so far. We have, I think it's close on 13 to 15, I think it's nearly 15,000 air rights parcels already kind of registered from real estate companies. As I said, those could be individual condos, or they could be like individual homes that real estate people or companies own. On the B2C side, we haven't been as active there because we've been focusing on the B2B side. So for us, we have individual homes and air rights registered close to where the drone delivery is happening. For us, I'm looking for probably about 1,000 to 1,500 in one particular town. So rather than spreading ourselves too thin, we focused on a couple of towns initially to see where we could get the most traction. There's 2 towns we've kind of boiled it down to that we're going to be focusing on next. And then that's a kind of boots on the ground type of strategy, even more so than is currently there, and to try and onboard those. Because if you can imagine it, when we look at a drone delivery area, so let's say Walmart are doing drone delivery, our ideal is to surround that Walmart, those air rights to be claimed and on board, and therefore Walmart hit those air rights parcels every time and get fees to these air rights owners. Yeah, so that to me would be the next kind of goal on the B2B side.
Very interesting. And we've talked a little bit about retailers. Is there any play to like get them involved? Like, is there any upside for them to work with you?
Well, yes, ultimately there is. So I suppose there's 2 ways people look at this. So the retailers are going at risk right now, right? So they're flying their drones and they're kind of naked. So yes, there are people shooting them down in some places. There have been legal cases, et cetera, et cetera. There's various things. So we mitigate that risk, but there has to get to a point for them to kind of click in. So we're building, and we've talked to some of them. They're interested in what we're doing, but at the moment, until they know there's no other way around it, and they're kind of just going at risk. But there is an opportunity to work with them, and we've talked to some of them. Some of the smaller ones are interested in it because the larger companies, let's say a Walmart, you can go risk, you might pay a fine. Yeah, okay, you've deep pockets. Smaller ones don't really want that. They want more surety. And when we talk to towns that we're working with, they want to know that whoever's flying drones is actually doing it legally. So that's one of the interesting angles we found, is by talking to the towns and the cities, we can kind of go in that direction as opposed to kind of be overly adversarial with a Walmart, for example.
Yeah, makes sense. Wow. Well, cool. This has been super fun, Jonathan. Thank you so much for being a guest. And if someone wants to reach out and learn more about you, about SkyTrade, how can they get in touch?
Yeah, sure. They can contact me. Well, email. I'm j@sky.trade. They can get me there. Twitter. I'm at drone evito. And yes, sky.trade is our website. So you can go there. You can play around, and yeah, you can get me there as well. So yeah,
Perfect. Hopefully someone will hear this and reach out.
great. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
It's amazing.
Thank you.